guys, let's see how we can obviously deploy a Helm chart application and access that application via using something like Ingress. And obviously within the Ingress, you can decide what sort of like Ingress implementation we can use. In this an example here, we are running our cluster is just running on kind. It doesn't matter anyway, but we would expose our application through Ingress using the implementation Nginx. Let's go. So here is the chart that we created here that we are looking at. So let's see, let's have a look. Just close all of this. Everything else here is the default thing that you generate once you deploy or you create this. Everything else here, as you can see, everything is the default value. And then chart here, there's nothing specified. All these are just default for me. Normally I usually like try to strip these things off just to show you that this is not really much of a big file. When people see this file with all these like things, it sort of looks massive, but this is just like metadata really that the chart uses. But hey, when you now look at this, you see that there's an like a template for Ingress to be created here. This is the kind Ingress, and it will be created if this is switched on, as we said in the previous videos. But here now you can see that there is like different kinds of things that you need to supply. You need to supply all of these things like host, the path type, and service port. And then again, you need to supply if you have the certificate to actually deploy these things, you need to like put on the certificate and the class name, which is the implementation of the Ingress that you want to use. Well, in this case now, let's go in and see what we can use. For us, really, I think the main thing really for us here is to like basically just go to and switch it on. So the first thing we need to do is to go to values. It's always the place that you need to go to. So let's go and find this section for Ingress. Let's go here. Here is Ingress. At the minute, by default, it's usually switched off. So let's switch it on. So we just go through. By this now, Ingress is fully switched on. Now, once you run this to generate template, you would see by yourself that this Ingress is really switched on. The next thing you need to do is to put the host that you want to run. For me now, I can just mention any host. There is already a host that I set up on my machine. I mean, we can just go and see as well. So, but let's say ecom.com, or let's say something like let's do something new. So let's find a host name, maybe just so that you can easily access these things. So I'll just say YouTube. Okay, let's not plagiarize YouTube. Let's say this is tube.com. It's tube.com. So this is locally thing that I'm gonna just make up on my local host for you to really see. If you have the TLS certificate, just bring them on now, but obviously we're doing the basic thing, installing things on our local machine, so we aren't actually just going to bother. Everything else on the service stays as is, because obviously we want the service to be cluster IP, but then Ingress would then look into that and just find out what it needs to do, and Ingress will just access that application through the Ingress, and then that's what we need to do. All right, so that now that we've just changed all the configuration, I think the next thing quickly is to just go to the host file to make sure that these things, whatever it is we've set up here, which is tube.com, is set up to listen to the the local host thing. So let's go here and do that. So we just go and say sudo and now sudo vim. Actually, it's coming up already, so this is it. I'm just gonna put my password to be able to edit that file. All right, so I press insert and then go down here, so you can see the previous ones I already set up. So I'm going to set up a new one. I'm just going to go here, press and enter, and do 127.0.0.1, and here I am going to like do that, which is tube.com, I think. Yeah, tube.com. So let's actually save that file and just get out. Now that everything else is set up, fully set up, I think what we now need to do is to now go and run this. How do we run that? Easy. So what we need to do is to actually begin to, because now this is running on, let's see, Helm upgrade install. I'm just gonna, because we made changes, we need to like implement this. Now that we've done that, you can see that from the note, it is saying that we can now go to this address and access our application. It is unlike it previously when it was just saying map a port and things. If you go through this now, nothing would be showing to you, because simply there's no Ingress controller set up on this machine yet. So we will do that. So let's see that this will fail once I press. So you can say it's not working. This is simple. So let's go back. So the next thing we need to do now is to set up Ingress controller, and this is where the cluster that you're running matters. If you are actually running a cluster that is on, probably let's say kind cluster, you need to go to the internet and see how to create Ingress controller there. I am on kind, and I have got a command how to sort of set up Ingress controller. So if I paste this command here, you can see this is saying kubectl, then go to this their website address where they kept their manifest, and I will deploy. But if you look at this now, you can see that this place is actually saying kind. Let's press enter. It will just install these things, and once it's installed, the next thing I need to do is to find out if they've actually installed. How do I do that? Just do kubectl. I'll say get ports, but this port I'm getting is in a specific namespace. So the namespace here is Ingress Nginx. That's the one I've applied. So I'll just go here. You see that, hey, it has completed two sort of like task or job that we call it. These are just going to be completed to enable this one to run. But what you can see here is that this is not really ready yet. Once we'll keep checking this. Once it's ready, you can see it's ready now. Once it's ready, we just move on to actually we just move on to now go and check that this is now going to be accessible. So what I normally do as well is I just go and just check the service as well. So let's check the port. Obviously this thing where we deploy the application doesn't matter. We deployed our application on a default namespace. So here it is, it's running. Nothing seems to be an issue at the minute. So what we need to do, sorry, this is default. What we need to do is to check for the service as well. So let's go svc, press enter, and the service seems to be okay. Right, so that's fine. I mean, you can also check your ingress. I think we got that command. So let's actually check the ingress. So here I'll just do kubectl get ingress, and I press an enter to see. There you go. So you can now see that because Ingress controller is now installed, this chart that we installed is now, the tube.com is now mapped to the local host at port 80. That's what we want. And now if you now go back, hopefully things should be okay. So let's go back, let's reload. There you go. So you can see now that voila, we're now on tube.com and we're now able to access this application. Thank you and have a great day.